Hello, I'm Christopher Hine, and today we're going to be talking again about Atemi Waza. Today a little more from the receptive side of Atemi Waza, and I'm going to give you guys some ways to train it. That'll actually probably be another video, but I'm going to talk about Shomen and Yokomen and why they're different, and a really stupidly simple revelation that I had several years back, and when I made the revelation, I don't know, some of you are going to watch it and go, why was that a revelation? But to me, it was a big deal. So I'm going to share that with you guys today, and maybe it'll be a big deal for you. Maybe you'll think I was silly to take so long to realize that. We're going to talk about Shomen and Yokomen and the difference between the two positions, and this is in receiving Atemi. So we're talking about receiving Atemi this time. I'm going to call Josh over here. We're going to go to work. Josh? All right, so let's talk about Shomenuchi and Yokomenuchi and the difference between the two, and I'm gonna tell you the thing that really hit my mind as amazing several years back, and I kind of feel stupid about that now. Okay, so as we know, Shomenuchi position is this position, right? Okay, if Josh were to throw a Yokomenuchi, we're gonna get somehow like this, right? Just throw it off that backhand. Okay, so we can get somehow like this, right? So the main difference between Shomen stuff and Yokomen stuff positionally is where my arm is. If he sticks his arm out, stick this one out. Okay, if he sticks his arm out, this is Yokomen position stuff. This is Shomen position stuff. Yokomen, Shomen. Now, that might seem like who cares about it, but it's important because if you're trying to understand the positions that will follow after the attack, knowing that tells you a lot about the kinds of answers you're going to get for Shomen attacks and you're going to get for Yokomen attacks. So Yokomen attacks, I'm always going to be inside position, which means I'm going to be filling this or finding a way to transition outside of this. And that's what I'm going to do from all Yokomen stuff. From Shomen stuff, I already have basically the good position. So everything I'm going to do is going to be about keeping the good position. So not transitioning out of that position, but keeping the good position. And so this is kind of an important thing to understand because if you realize this, this means that Aikido has sets of answers for either side of the arm, right? So meaning if I'm here, then I'm trained with all the techniques that follow for Yokomen. If I'm here, I'm trained with all the techniques for Shomen, which means if Josh were to take this Shomen and move his arm around, oh, now we have the answers for Yokomen, right? If he was to try to do something else, right, something weird like maybe cut my belly or something, oh, now we have all the transitions for the Shomen, the outside stuff, right? So understanding that Shomen and Yokomen are inside and outside variations of that arm suppression kind of thing, right? And it's like a really weak arm suppression because it's not Ikkyo yet. It will become Ikkyo as soon as we can, but it's not quite there yet. So that's really the big difference between Shomen and Yokomen. And I think if you let that kind of sit in your mind for a minute, you'll kind of realize, oh, there's a lot of cool stuff in there. Okay, now with that said, let's real quickly talk about what Yokomen is, and then next week I'll make you a whole series of these guys because they're fun to look at. So let me have you switch on me for me. Okay, so when Josh comes in, we have basically a couple timings of things, right? So look, if I knew Josh was going to hit me and I was sin, no sin, I was ahead, but I could act before he could act, then I could just enter straight into this. Boom, I could hit him, right? And so we kind of talked about that last week with what happens if someone kind of stops and stutter steps, right? Well, you should just attack before they can attack because you know attack is imminent and they've cut that distance down and they're working it into their ideal distance, and I want to attack them before they get their ideal distance. So that's what would happen if I'm way ahead. Now, if I'm way, way behind, then, well, if I'm way, way behind, this will happen. Okay, that's way, way behind. I didn't even realize there was a strike coming and I got hit. But one up from that we can actually work with is simply this, okay, which is Ure-san Kaku, and that's just bringing my arms up. Now in Aikido, you should be training yourself and your students all the time when their arms raise, your arms raise. So when I see his arms go up, my arms go up, and that means I've already accounted for any arm up stuff. Now if from the arm up position, he decides to attack low, well, he brings his arms down and I bring my arms down, right? So we go up together, we come down together, and if we keep that, my arms are always going to be creating suppression for whatever he comes with. Okay. Now, Somewhere in the middle of those, way, way ahead and way, way behind, we have the other options. If we're, just come a little closer for me. If we're close, we can use the sugiyashi entry, and my teacher calls this the direct entry, right? But I'm going to sugiyashi off my front step. So as Josh comes in, I go here, boom, and I'm hitting at Josh directly, right? So that really only works well from a closer position, doesn't work well from regular ma'ai because it's so far to go. And so what happens is when we get at regular ma'ai, not that I won't stop it, but his foot will make the full transition through, and this isn't that position, right? So this is another position I have to work with, and we can talk about it, but it's not the ideal position. So if we were showing a form, this isn't the way we would do it. So from a closer position, I can generally get this off before he can step that back foot, and that's going to set up most of the stuff for the forms for that. So that's still pretty early, but he has begun to go into action. Okay, now a little further away from that, and also a little further in distance and timing from that, is the Ayumiyashi step. So actually, let me have you switch for this one. So when he Ayumiyashi's in, the Yumiyashi blend is this blend. Okay, now something I like to pick at with this and really drives me nuts. I believe, for me and my way of looking at Aikido, you should not be moving on a circle with this person, right? So meaning in a lot of Aikido schools, this blend looks like this. Okay. That to me is just about useless, right? So look, and I come in, we go like this, whoop, just like that, okay? So that's, they love to show that all the time in Aikido schools. There is really not martial application to that. I guess he didn't hit me, which is cool, but there's no reason for me to do that. Now, opposed to that is the way I teach it, which is direct step in and circle at the end. Now, for direct step in, what happens is I get and just go to the beginning of the action and then stop. So here, I've stepped where Josh is weak, and I'm applying force directly to Josh, so I'm moving him away. And at the same time, I'm covering my head, so if anything comes in, I defend that. So when he comes in, I go right at him, and then I turn at an angle at the end, so I hit the perfect angle to knock him off of me. So instead of dancing around in a circle, which is really useless, Josh gets nothing for that, right? I want to be attacking in that defense, right? So that's what I'm looking for. I'm changing the line with that. So those are the basic Yokomen defenses you're going to see in Aikido forms. You're going to see direct entry. You're going to see a receptive or a Yumiyashi entry, a Sugiyashi entry, or you're going to see just Ure Sankaku, arms up, and some variation of Ure Sankaku depending on the timing. Other than that, you're either going to hit them before they hit, or they're going to hit you before you can do anything. So those are all the timings of that. Okay, now from those, there's tons of other stuff. We're going to get in that the next video, right? So if we're in this Yokomen position, remember, like I said in the beginning, anytime I'm inside, that's a Yokomen position. So I can get high pass, or called uke nagashi sometimes, or low pass, gate umbarai, right? So I can get either of those off of that, and those will pretty much make up all the forms. Yeah, pretty much make up all the forms we'll see for Yokomenuchi. So I'm Christopher Hine. Next week we'll put another video talking about how to build these all into a drill together that will help you. And we'll see you next time. I'm Christopher Hines, Joshua Teehee, and my Solana McDaniel's right back there.